The children of Pinewood Heights sang it every December, their voices echoing through frosted streets like a warning no one understood. He sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake. But in the winter of 2005, the nursery rhyme stopped being innocent. Detective Sarah Chen would never forget the moment she stepped into the Whitmore house on December 23rd. The Christmas tree still blinked its cheerful lights. Presents sat wrapped beneath silver tinsel. But 7-year-old Emma Whitmore was gone, vanished from her locked bedroom on the second floor. The only evidence left behind was a single candy cane on her pillow, sticky with something that wasn't peppermint, and 5 words scratched into the frost on her window from the outside. He's making a list twice. The handwriting was a child's. But Emma's window was 14 feet off the ground. Sarah's flashlight swept across the glass, catching something else, pressed into the ice like a fossil. A handprint. Too large to be human, with fingers that stretched impossibly long. And at the center of each fingertip, a small, perfect hole, as if something sharp had been retracted back inside. That's when Sarah heard it, drifting from somewhere in the December darkness outside. Children singing, "Santa Claus is coming to town." But school had been closed for winter break for 3 days. There shouldn't have been any children outside at 2:47 a.m. Underscore 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 underscore. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Tonight's story comes from Pinewood Heights, Massachusetts. A real place, real events from 2005, though names have been changed to protect those still living there. Before we begin, I need to ask, where are you watching from right now? Drop your location in the comments. And listen, if you're watching this alone, late at night, maybe turn on an extra light. This one's different. Hit that like button if you're ready to hear something that'll make you rethink every Christmas song you've ever sung. Subscribe if you want more true horror. And whatever you do, don't skip to the end. You need to hear this in order. Because by the time you understand what the children of Pinewood Heights were really singing about, it might already be too late. Pinewood Heights was the kind of town that appeared on Christmas cards. Population 3,847. Main street lined with historic lampposts that the town council wrapped in garland every Thanksgiving weekend. The kind of place where everyone knew everyone, where doors stayed unlocked, where the biggest crime of the year was usually teenagers spray painting the water tower. Sarah Chen had moved there 6 months earlier in June 2005, taking the detective position when the former detective, Marcus Webb, retired after 32 years of service. It was supposed to be a slower pace after 12 years with Boston PD. A place to breathe. Maybe start a family with her husband, David, who'd gotten a remote position with his tech company. Rare in those days, but David had negotiated it. Their house was a renovated Victorian on Elm Street, 3 blocks from the station. Sarah loved it. The creaking floors, the original crown molding, the way snow gathered on the pitched roof like something from a Currier and Ives painting. David had already started planning their first Christmas there, talking about hanging lights, getting a real tree from the farm on Route 7. But there were small things Sarah noticed. Things she told herself were just small-town quirks. Like how the local children never played outside after dark in December. Not even the teenagers. Or how every house, every single one, had their curtains drawn by 5 p.m., the moment the winter sun disappeared behind the pines that gave the town its name. Or how the Christmas decorations, while abundant, all avoided a specific image. No Santa Claus figures in yards. No inflatable Santas on roofs. The town square had a massive tree, a nativity scene, even a 9-foot snowman. But no Santa. When Sarah asked the clerk at the grocery store about it, the woman, Barbara, according to her name tag, had smiled tightly. "Just local preference, dear. We focus on the religious aspects of the holiday here." But her hand had trembled slightly as she bagged Sarah's groceries. Sarah had let it go. She chalked it up to small-town eccentricity, maybe some church politics she didn't understand yet. Even when she'd driven past the elementary school and seen the children at recess, noticed how they all played on one side of the playground, the side facing away from the woods, she told herself she was being paranoid. Old habits from Boston, where you learn to see danger everywhere. David had laughed when she mentioned it. "You're overthinking it, babe. This place is paradise compared to the city. Enjoy it." He was probably right. The most exciting call Sarah had gotten in 6 months was a noise complaint about Mr. Peterson's dog barking at 11 p.m. She'd spent most of her time doing paperwork, attending town council meetings, eating lunch at the diner where the waitress knew her order by the second week. Pinewood Heights was safe, peaceful, boring even. That's what Sarah believed right up until December 23, 2005, when she got the call that would make her understand why the children never played outside after dark. Why every curtain was drawn by 5 p.m. And why, in 32 years of service, former Detective Marcus Webb had never, not once, worked a missing child case. Until the year he retired. The call came in at 2:34 a.m. Sarah's phone buzzed on the nightstand, David groaning beside her as she fumbled for it in the darkness. "Detective Chen." Her voice was rough with sleep. "Detective, it's Officer Reeves." Tim Reeves was one of the 2 night patrol officers in Pinewood Heights, a young guy fresh from the academy. His voice was shaking. "We have a situation at 447 Oakwood Drive. The Whitmore residence. Their daughter is missing." Sarah was already sitting up, reaching for her clothes. "Missing how?" "From her bedroom. Parents put her to bed at 8 p.m. Father went to check on her around 2:15, said he heard singing outside. And she was gone. Door was still locked from the outside. Second floor window was latched from the inside. "Detective, there's something else." "What?" A pause. "You need to see it." 15 minutes later, Sarah pulled up to a 2-story colonial with white siding and black shutters. Every light in the house was on, and she could see neighbors gathering on their porches despite the late hour, watching, but staying back, as if there was an invisible line they wouldn't cross. Inside, Sarah found Tim Reeves standing with Robert and Linda Whitmore in the living room. Robert was in his 40s, still wearing flannel pajama pants, his face gray. Linda sat on the couch, staring at nothing, a tissue crumpled in her hand. "Tell me what happened," Sarah said gently. Robert's voice was mechanical, like he was reading from a script. "We put Emma to bed at 8 o'clock. Read her a story. She was fine. Happy. Excited about Christmas. Linda and I stayed up watching a movie, went to bed around 11. Around 2 He stopped, swallowed. I woke up because I heard singing. Singing? Children singing. That Christmas song. Santa Claus is coming to town. I thought maybe Emma had her CD player on or something, but it sounded like it was coming from outside. I went to her room to check on her and... His voice cracked. The bed was empty. Just empty. Show me, Sarah said. Emma's room was exactly how Sarah imagined a 7-year-old's room would be. Pink walls. Stuffed animals arranged on shelves. A desk with crayons scattered across it. The bed was neatly made, or rather, it looked like someone had carefully smoothed the covers after Emma was taken. No signs of struggle. But on the pillow, placed with deliberate care, was a candy cane. Sarah pulled on latex gloves and picked it up. It was sticky, the red and white stripes slightly smeared. She lifted it to her nose and immediately recoiled. It smelled wrong. Sweet, yes, but underneath, something metallic. Organic. Rot. Don't let the parents see this, she told Tim. The window was more disturbing. It was latched from the inside, a simple hook latch that a child couldn't reach from outside even if they'd had a ladder. The window itself was intact. No signs of forced entry. But the frost on the outside glass had been disturbed. Sarah clicked on her flashlight and leaned close. Words. scratched into the frost from the outside. He's making a list twice. The letters were crude, uneven, like a child had written them. But that was impossible. This window was 14 feet off the ground. There was no ladder outside, no footprints in the snow beneath. Nothing. Then Sarah saw the handprint. It was pressed into the frost beside the words, barely visible unless you looked at it from the right angle. The outline of a palm, 5 fingers extending from it. But the fingers were wrong. Too long. 7, maybe 8 inches each, tapering to sharp points. And at the tip of each finger was a small hole, perfectly circular, about the diameter of a pencil, as if whatever had made this print had claws that could retract. Jesus Christ, Tim whispered behind her. Sarah took photos with her digital camera, one of those early Nikon models that stored images on a memory card, her hand steadier than she felt. Then she turned to look at Emma's desk. Among the crayons and coloring books was a piece of paper with a drawing on it. Sarah walked over, picked it up. A child's crayon drawing. Bright and cheerful, the way children drew. A Christmas tree. Presents. And a figure, tall, red suit, white beard. Santa Claus. But Emma had drawn the mouth wrong. Or maybe right. The mouth was open, filled with sharp triangular teeth colored in black crayon. And the eyes had no pupils, just empty white circles. At the bottom, in careful child handwriting, he sees you when you're sleeping. When did she draw this? Sarah asked. Robert had followed them upstairs. Last week. I asked her about it, about why Santa looks scary. She said that's how he really looks. That all the kids at school know. I thought. He pressed his hand to his face. I thought she was just being creative. Kids that age, they go through phases, right? We let her watch Nightmare Before Christmas, and I thought maybe it influenced her. Sarah's jaw tightened. Mr. Whitmore, has Emma mentioned anything else unusual? Anyone talking to her? Anything about Santa specifically? No. Nothing. She's been normal. Happy. He stopped, remembering something. Wait. About 3 weeks ago, she asked if we could stay at my mother's house for Christmas. My mom lives in Connecticut. I asked why and Emma said she didn't want to be here when he comes. I assumed she meant Santa, like she was worried about being on the naughty list or something. We told her Santa only brings presents to good girls, and she's been wonderful, so there's nothing to worry about. But she kept asking, getting more insistent. Finally, last week, she stopped asking. Got real quiet about it. Sarah felt something cold settle in her stomach. Did she say why she didn't want to be here? Robert shook his head. She said all the kids know. That you have to leave before he comes. Before who comes? Before Santa. But the way she said it. Robert's eyes filled with tears. It didn't sound like she was talking about the Santa from TV. Sarah turned back to the window, staring at that impossible handprint. At the words scratched into frost 14 feet above the ground. Outside, faint and distant, she heard it again. Children singing. He sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake. She checked her watch, too. 47 a.m. School was closed. It was nearly 3 in the morning. There shouldn't be any children outside. But when Sarah looked out Emma's window into the darkness, she saw them, small figures standing at the edge of the tree line across the street. Maybe 6 or 7 children. Too far away to see clearly. But they were swaying. Singing. Then, as one, they turned and walked backward into the woods. Still singing. Sarah was out the door before Tim could follow, her boots crunching through the snow as she ran across Oakwood Drive toward the tree line. Behind her, she heard Tim shouting, but she didn't stop. The children, she could still hear them singing, the sound growing fainter as they moved deeper into the pines. He's making a list, checking it twice. She hit the tree line and immediately felt the temperature drop. The singing stopped. Sarah swept her flashlight across the trees, her breath coming in white clouds. Nothing. No footprints. No sign of anyone. But on a low-hanging branch directly in front of her, someone had hung something. Sarah stepped closer, her light catching it. A candy cane. Identical to the one on Emma's pillow, same sticky residue, same wrong smell underneath the peppermint. Tim caught up to her, breathing hard. "Detective, what the hell? You heard them, right?" Sarah interrupted. "The singing?" Tim nodded slowly. "Yeah. But..." He looked around the dark woods. "There's no one here." Sarah was already moving, following some instinct she didn't understand. There, 20 feet ahead. Another candy cane hanging from a branch. Then another. They formed a trail leading deeper into the woods. "This is a trap," Tim said. "We should call for backup." "Who are we going to call?" "Sheriff's department is 40 minutes away." Sarah kept walking, following the candy canes. "And backup for what?" "Missing children? Detective, something's really wrong here. The way those kids just vanished. That handprint. This doesn't make sense." "I know." The candy canes led them almost a quarter mile into the woods before the trail ended at a small clearing. Sarah's flashlight swept across frozen ground, dead grass poking through snow. And there, scratched into the earth like the words on Emma's window, a message. "Naughty children go in the bag." "What the fuck?" Tim breathed. Sarah's light caught something else. Scattered around the clearing, children's toys. A teddy bear, its fur matted and dirty. A plastic doll with no eyes. A red wagon with rusted wheels. A baseball. All abandoned. All weathered, as if they'd been here for years. "Tim," Sarah said quietly. "How long have you lived in Pinewood Heights?" "My whole life. 24 years. Have there been other missing children?" A pause. "Too long." "No." You hesitated. Tim wouldn't meet her eyes. "There haven't been any reported missing children." "That's not the same thing." Tim's jaw worked. "Finally. My grandfather told me a story once. I thought it was just something to scare kids. He said that a long time ago, back in the 60s, there was this tradition. Every Christmas, families with children would leave town. Go visit relatives out of state, take vacations, whatever. It wasn't all families, just some. The ones who knew. Knew what? He wouldn't say. Said some things you don't talk about because talking about them makes them real." Tim looked at the toys scattered around the clearing. "But he did say that the families who didn't leave, the ones who stayed through Christmas, sometimes their kids would change. Get quiet. Withdrawn. Stop sleeping. And if you ask them what was wrong, they just say they saw Santa." Sarah felt her skin prickling. Children go missing and no one reports it? Not missing exactly. They come back. But they're different. Wrong somehow. And within a few years, the families move away. That's what my grandfather said happened. People just left. Quietly. That's insane. Someone would have. Would have what? Investigated? Detective Webb worked here for 32 years. You think he didn't notice a pattern? Tim's voice dropped. Or maybe he did notice. Maybe that's why he retired this year specifically. Sarah thought about the former detective, the man she'd replaced. She'd met him once during the transition in May, a grizzled man in his 60s with tired eyes. He'd shaken her hand, told her Pinewood Heights was a good town. Quiet, he'd said. Keep it that way. She thought he meant keep crime low. Now she wondered if he meant something else entirely. Sarah's cell phone, a flip phone, clunky by today's standards but standard for 2005, buzzed in her pocket. A text from David, "Where are you? It's 3 a.m. She typed back quickly with her thumb on the tiny keypad, working a case. Home soon. Love you? His response came immediately, be safe. Heard singing outside a few minutes ago. Weird. Sarah's blood went cold. She called him. He picked up on the first ring. David, what's singing? I don't know. Sounded like kids caroling or something. Woke me up around 2:45. I looked out the window but didn't see anyone. He yawned. Why? Listen to me carefully. I need you to check every lock in the house. Doors, windows, everything. Don't look outside again. Just lock everything and go back to bed. Sarah, you're scaring me. I know. I'm sorry. Just do it, okay? I'll explain when I get home. She hung up and turned to Tim. Take me to Detective Webb's house. What? Now? Now. Marcus Webb's house was dark when they pulled up at 3:42 a.m. Sarah knocked hard on the door, rang the bell. A light came on upstairs, then the porch light. Webb opened the door in a bathrobe, looking annoyed until he saw Sarah's face. Detective Chen. What? Emma Whitmore is missing, Sarah said flatly. Taken from her locked bedroom. And I think you know exactly what took her. Webb's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Recognition. And fear. He stepped back. Come in. Inside, Webb's house was neat, sparse. Photos of a family on the walls, a wife, 2 kids, both grown now. Sarah saw graduation pictures, wedding photos. Normal life. Webb sat heavily in an armchair. How much do you know? Not enough. But I need you to tell me everything. Right now. Webb was quiet for a long time. Finally. It comes every 7 years. Always has, far as anyone can tell. Goes back generations. My grandfather dealt with it. My father dealt with it. I dealt with it. He looked at Sarah. Now you're going to deal with it. It? Santa Claus. Webb laughed bitterly. That's what the kids call it anyway. What we all call it, for lack of a better name. But it's not Santa. It's something older. Something that's been here longer than the town. Longer than the Europeans. The Wampanoag who lived here before us had a name for it, but it's lost now. All we know is it comes every 7 years during Christmas week. Why every 7 years? Don't know. Just the pattern. 7 years of peace, then 1 year of hunting. Webb's hands trembled as he spoke. It takes children. Specifically children who are naughty, but naughty by its standards, not ours. Children who lie. Who disobey. Who stay up late when they shouldn't. Normal kid stuff. It watches them all year, keeps track. Sarah thought of the nursery rhyme. He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. The last time was 1998, Webb continued. 7 years ago. 4 children were taken. The Morrison girl, the Chin boy, no relation to you, the Patterson twins. All between 6 and 8 years old. All taken from locked rooms between December 23rd and December 25th. And you didn't investigate? Webb's face hardened. I investigated. For 3 days I searched. Put out alerts. Called in state police. We combed these woods for 72 hours. On December 26th, the children came back. Sarah felt her heart hammering. Came back how? Walked out of the woods like nothing happened. Clean. Unharmed. But changed. They didn't speak for weeks. When they finally did, they wouldn't talk about where they'd been. Just kept drawing pictures of the same thing. A man in red with sharp teeth. A workshop full of children. A bag. A massive bag filled with kids. And they all sang that goddamn song constantly. Santa Claus is coming to town. Over and over. Where are those children now? Gone. Families moved away within 6 months. All of them. That's what always happens. The children come back, but they're not the same. They know something. Saw something. And the families can't stay here anymore. Sarah stood abruptly. This is insane. You're telling me there's some kind of monster that takes children, returns them, and everyone just accepts it? What choice do we have? Webb's voice rose. You think I didn't try to stop it? You think I didn't sit up on Christmas Eve with a loaded shotgun waiting? It doesn't matter. It takes who it wants. And the ones it doesn't take. He stopped. What about them? The ones who've seen it and gotten away, they change too. They warn the other kids. Teach them the rules. That's why the children here don't play outside after dark in December. Why they draw those pictures. They're preparing the next generation. Sarah's mind reeled. Emma Whitmore drew a picture of Santa with sharp teeth last week. Then she knew. They all know. Webb stood slowly. Detective Chen, my advice is simple. Let it run its course. The children always come back. Not the same, but alive. If you interfere, if you try to find where it takes them, you might prevent them from coming back at all. You're telling me to do nothing. I'm telling you to be smart. 3 days. That's all. Then Emma comes home, her parents move away, and life goes on. Sarah stared at him. You're a coward. Maybe. But I'm a coward whose children are alive. That counts for something. Sarah didn't go home. She went back to the station, pulled every file from December 1998, and started reading. Webb was right, there were reports. Missing children. Search efforts. Then, on December 26th, case closed notes. Child located. Family declined further investigation. She found photos. The Morrison girl, age 7. In the before picture, she was smiling, gap-toothed, holding a stuffed rabbit. In the after picture, taken by school photographers in January 1999, her smile was gone. Her eyes looked ancient. Sarah pulled files from 1991. Same pattern. 3 children taken December 23rd to 25th. All returned December 26th. Same haunted expressions in the after photos. She went back further. 1984, 1977, 1970. Every 7 years, like clockwork. Sometimes 2 children. Sometimes 5. But always returned. Always changed. And always, in the investigation notes, the same details. Candy canes with a wrong smell. Handprints too large to be human. Children singing at night. Sarah was deep in files from 1963 when the station's landline phone rang. She picked it up. Detective Chen? A child's voice. Small. Frightened. Who is this? Emma. Emma Whitmore. Sarah's hand tightened on the receiver. Emma, where are you? In the workshop. With the others. He said I could make one call. To tell you not to come. He said grown-ups who come don't leave. Emma, I need you to describe where you are. It's cold. Underground, I think. There are machines. And other kids. Lots of them. Some are really old, like from before my mommy was born. They work on the toys. They have to. If they don't work, they go in the bag. No one comes back from the bag, Detective Chen. Sarah grabbed her coat. How many children are there? Maybe 20? 30? I don't know. They don't talk much anymore. They just work. And sing. He makes us sing the song. Emma's voice cracked. Please don't come. He wants you to come. He's making a list of grown-ups too. People who try to stop him. The line went dead. Sarah ran for her car. She drove back to the woods, parked on the side of the road, and followed the trail of candy canes again. But this time, she went past the clearing. Deeper. The candy canes continued, leading her through dense pines until she found it. A rocky outcrop with a dark opening barely visible behind dead brush. A cave entrance. Sarah pulled out her service weapon, a Glock 22 standard issue. Clicked on her flashlight, and entered. The passage sloped downward, narrow at first, then widening. The air smelled wrong, sweet and rotting at the same time. She followed it for what felt like hours but was probably only 20 minutes, until the passage opened into a vast underground chamber. Sarah's flashlight swept across a nightmare. The cavern was enormous, supported by natural rock formations that looked like twisted pillars. But it had been modified. Decorated. Christmas lights hung from the ceiling, thousands of them, old-fashioned bulbs that must have been stolen over decades, casting a sickly colorful glow. Candy canes lined the walls. And there, in the center, workshops. Dozens of wooden tables where small figures sat, assembling toys with mechanical precision. Children. Some looked recent, confused, frightened. Others looked ancient, their movements jerky and automatic, eyes vacant. They ranged from toddlers to what must have been teenagers, though it was hard to tell. They all wore the same expression, empty, hollowed out. And they sang. Quietly. Constantly. He sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake. Sarah saw Emma at one of the tables, carefully painting a wooden train. The girl looked up, saw Sarah, and her eyes went wide with terror. "I told you not to come," Emma whispered. That's when Sarah heard it. Footsteps. Heavy. Slow. Coming from a passage on the far side of the chamber. A figure emerged into the light. It was tall, 7 feet at least. Wearing red. The traditional Santa suit, perfectly tailored, trimmed with white fur. Black boots. Black belt. And the face. From a distance, it looked right. White beard. Rosy cheeks. But as it came closer, Sarah saw the truth. The beard was real, grew from its face, but the hair was too coarse, almost like wire. The face underneath was wrong. Skin too smooth, too pale, like something that had never seen sun. And the eyes, pupilless white orbs that somehow still saw everything. It smiled. The mouth opened, and Sarah understood why the children drew those pictures. Row after row of triangular teeth, each one filed to a point. Shark teeth. Predator teeth. When it spoke, the voice was jovial. Cheerful. Exactly what Santa should sound like. Detective Sarah Chen, age 34. Moved to Pinewood Heights 6 months ago. No children. Yet. It tilted its head. You've been very naughty. Breaking into workshops. Disturbing the children during work hours. I'm afraid you've made the list. Sarah raised her gun. Let them go. The thing that looked like Santa laughed, a deep, rumbling sound that made the candy canes on the walls rattle. Let them go. But they're having such fun. Aren't you children? As one, 30 children turned to look at Sarah. They spoke in unison. So much fun. Their voices were flat. Dead. Sarah's hand trembled. What are you? I'm Santa Claus, it said simply. I've always been Santa Claus. Long before the name. Long before the story. I'm the one who watches. Who keeps the list. Who rewards and punishes. The children understand. Why don't you? It took a step closer. Now then, detective. It's time for you to choose. Join the workshop. There's always room for helpers. Or, it reached behind its back and pulled out a massive burlap sack. Stained. Bulging. Moving slightly. Go in the bag. Where all the naughtiest ones go. Sarah fired. The bullet hit the thing in the chest. It staggered back, looked down at the hole in the red suit, then looked up at Sarah. Still smiling. Very naughty, it said. Then it lunged. Sarah ran. Behind her, she heard it moving, too fast, its footsteps wrong, like it was running on all fours despite having a human shape. She sprinted back through the passage, her flashlight beam bouncing wildly off stone walls. The children's singing grew louder behind her, echoing through the cave. He sees you when you're sleeping. She burst out of the cave entrance into the pre-dawn darkness, not stopping, crashing through the woods toward the road. She could hear it behind her, getting closer. A sound like bells jingling. Like chains dragging. Like breathing that wasn't quite human. Sarah broke through the tree line onto the road just as the first hint of dawn touched the eastern sky. She spun around, gun raised. The thing stopped at the tree line. Standing just inside the shadow of the pines. Still smiling. Dawn on December 24th, it said pleasantly. You're very lucky, Detective. My hunting time is over for now. The children will finish their work. On Christmas night I'll return them. As I always do. What are you really? Sarah demanded. What do you want? It tilted its head, considering. I want what I've always wanted. To teach the children. To show them what happens to those who misbehave. To make sure they understand that someone is always watching. Always keeping score. Its smile widened. Fear is the best teacher, Detective. Fear makes children good. And good children make a good world. You're a monster. Unnecessary. Without me, who would they fear? Who would make them behave? I am the stick that balances the carrot. I am the shadow in the night that makes them appreciate the light. It took a step back into the darkness. The children will return tomorrow. Tell their parents not to worry. And Detective Chen? Sarah's finger tightened on the trigger. Next time I come, 7 years from now, I'll be expecting you. You've made the list. You'll always be on the list now. Every Christmas, I'll be watching you. Wondering if you'll try to interfere again. It melted backward into the shadows. The last thing Sarah saw was its white eyes, gleaming in the darkness. Then it was gone. Sarah sat in her car as the sun rose, hands shaking, trying to process what she'd seen. She called the station, told them to have officers watch the woods. Then she went home to David, who wrapped her in his arms and didn't ask questions when she couldn't stop crying. On December 25th, Christmas night, just after midnight, 30 children walked out of the woods. They came in ones and twos, making their way to their homes, opening doors, climbing into their beds. Emma Whitmore was found in her room at 12:47 a.m., tucked under her covers, clutching her favorite stuffed rabbit. When her parents woke her, asking where she'd been, Emma looked at them with ancient eyes and said, "Making toys. We're always making toys." Then she rolled over and went to sleep. Sarah visited the Whitmore house the next day. Emma wouldn't speak to her, just drew pictures with her crayons. Picture after picture of the same thing, children sitting at workbenches in a dark cave. And standing over them, a figure in red with too wide a smile. 3 weeks later, the Whitmores put their house up for sale. They left Pinewood Heights in February 2006. By March 2006, all the families of the taken children had left town. Just like Webb said they would. Pinewood Heights went back to normal, quiet, peaceful, safe. No one talked about what had happened. Life continued. Sarah tried to forget. Tried to focus on regular police work, on her marriage, on being normal. But every night she found herself checking the locks. Looking out the windows after dark. Listening for singing that wasn't there. David started talking about moving. "This town gives me the creeps," he said in April. "Let's go back to Boston." But Sarah refused. "If I leave, it wins. If everyone who knows the truth leaves, then it just continues forever. What are you going to do? You can't stop it. Maybe not. But I can be ready." Sarah spent the next 7 years preparing. She researched folklore, mythology, ancient traditions. She found mentions of similar entities in different cultures. The Krampus in Alpine regions, the Belsnickel in Germany, the Père Fouettard in France. Always the same pattern, a figure that punishes misbehaving children. A shadow companion to the gift giver. She collected iron, silver, salt. Traditional protective materials. She didn't know if they'd work, but she had to try. And she kept detailed records. Everything she'd seen in that cave. Every child who'd been taken. She sent copies to news outlets, to paranormal investigators, to anyone who might listen. No one believed her. Of course not. Who would? But she didn't need them to believe. She just needed them to have the information. In case she didn't survive. 7 years passed quickly. David left her in 2009, tired of living with someone who was obsessed with a hallucination. Webb died in 2011, heart attack, the death certificate said, but Sarah knew better. She'd seen the fear in his eyes that last time they'd spoken. He'd known it was coming back. Knew he was on the list now, too, for telling her. December 2012 arrived like a sentence. Sarah was ready. She'd resigned from the force, couldn't be a detective and hunt monsters at the same time. She'd converted her home into a fortress. Iron bars on the windows. Salt lines at every threshold. Security cameras everywhere, though in 2012, home security was still relatively primitive. On December 20th, children started drawing pictures again. The same pictures. Santa with sharp teeth. On December 22nd, Sarah heard singing outside her house at midnight. Children's voices in the darkness. He sees you when you're sleeping. On December 23rd, at exactly 2:34 a.m., the same time Emma had vanished 7 years earlier, Sarah heard her doorbell ring. She went downstairs, gun in hand, looked through the peephole. A candy cane sat on her doorstep. Red and white, glistening wetly in the porch light. She didn't open the door. Didn't move. Just watched as, slowly, a shadow crossed in front of the peephole. Too tall. Moving wrong. Then, from behind her, inside her locked, iron-barred house, a voice. "Hello, Detective Chen." Sarah spun around. It stood in her living room. Still wearing the red suit. Still smiling with those shark teeth. Still watching her with those empty white eyes. "How, the protections? Did you really think iron would stop me? Salt?" It laughed softly. "Detective, I've been doing this for 1,000 years. Your protections work on lesser things. Ghosts. Demons. Spirits. But I'm not any of those." It took a step closer. "I'm an idea. An agreement. Made long ago between the people of this land and something that lived here first. They promised me tribute, children's fear, children's obedience, and in return I promise balance. Order. A reason for children to be good. That's insane. Is it? Look at the world, Detective. Look at what happens when children have no fear. No consequences. No shadow in the night keeping them in line." Its smile widened. "I am necessary. I am tradition. I am the thing that makes the nursery rhymes true." It opened the bag. "Now then, shall we discuss your placement? Workshop or bag? You have such useful skills. You could teach the children many things. Or," Sarah raised her gun, "or I can shoot you again. And keep shooting until you leave." "Oh, Detective." It tilted its head, almost pitying. "Don't you understand yet? Bullets can't kill an idea. Fear can't die. It just waits. Grows. Comes back stronger." It lunged. Sarah fired. The bag opened wide. And from outside, through the closed windows and locked doors, Sarah heard the children singing. "Santa Claus is coming to town." The official police report stated that Detective Sarah Chen was found in her home on December 26, 2012. She was sitting at her kitchen table, staring at nothing. Unharmed physically. But changed. She wouldn't speak for 3 days. When she finally did, she only said one thing. "He's making a list." Then she started singing. "Santa Claus is coming to town." Sarah Chen left Pinewood Heights in January 2013. The house has been empty ever since. But if you visit in December, late at night, you can still hear singing coming from inside. Children's voices. Repeating the same song. Over and over. Warning the next generation. Because Santa Claus is always watching. And he always comes back.